Hey
Adjusting
babe,
my
how you
hair.
doing?
This crazy hair day thing.
Oh,
I'm good. How are you?
nice, good. Just so everyone knows as well, Halia actually cut her hair herself, so I'm pretty impressed that you managed to do that during this time of
It looks a mess.
quarantine. You're rocking it. It looks amazing.
I was
Yeah,
so done with a.
yeah, honestly, yeah, my hair, I want to get it cut, but obviously I can't. But I know that if I cut it, then it will end up being like I've got one side up here and then one side down here. So that's why I'm impressed that you
Mhm.
managed to do it so successfully. But so anyway, how are you doing over this time? Tell me what's been going on with you.
I'm doing okay. I mean, I think it's reflective in my bedhead that I've kind of stopped caring. Um, um, I did kind of crimp it up a little bit just to give it some life because I feel like I was going a little crazy with the every single day having the same look over and over again. So I've been okay. I mean, as good as people can be while isolated in their homes away from their friends.
Yeah,
Not a lot in my life has changed because I never worked out except for on set and stuff, and I hadn't been working for about 6 months when this whole thing happened. So it's sad because we were supposed to go back and film season 2 around this time, but that's not going to happen for a while for
yeah,
Lock and Key. So
yeah.
yeah.
But I love that, I think there's a lot of things for all of us that have, plans have changed and stuff like that. But I think it's good that even though obviously that's not ideal that you're having to push that back and stuff, you're still kind of using your time to yeah, work on yourself and use it kind of productively in terms of that stuff rather than dwelling on what you could have been doing over this time. And I messaged you about doing this because I've been really inspired by how much you've been creating during this time. So maybe you could speak a little bit about that, because I know that music is one of your big passions, but you've also been so productive in terms of like making an album and promoting it and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, maybe you could talk to us a little bit about that.
It's so funny to hear the outside perspective of what I'm doing because it feels like I'm not enough and I could be doing more and learning more and pushing myself more and whatnot. And I think the thing with Instagram is like if someone puts something out, it seems like they've put all of their time and effort of like, and they didn't do anything else, and there was never a moment of breaking, and they were just so focused and productive and stuff. And like 85% of my time, I am shamelessly forcing myself because I believe that's part of doing something in the long run in the way of music and whatnot. So for me, when I did put out that album, or not really, it's not really an album, it's like a collection of songs that much of them I wrote, produced, and released all the same day for my birthday weekend. And a lot of those I just did that day. Like I was so focused in for that week. I was like, this is what I'm doing. And I sat in front of my computer for hours. And then since then, it's like that was the week of the 7th. Since then, it's like the 26th now. I've done nothing productive. And that's okay, though. I think that's the biggest thing that as people, as creators, we need to be like, okay, we can have our really high moments of creating a lot and then there are low moments, but those low moments are just as important because
Exactly.
it's the only way to fuel your mind and your soul and reconnect with yourself in order to be able to put out so much of yourself in the music and creation.
And to be
So
honest as well, like a lot of people have, like, to be honest, I feel like for a lot of us, in terms of being creative, whether it's as an actress or whether it's creating music, you can use almost like the pain that you're feeling right now to then fuel your creativity, because you wrote a song to do because you had your birthday during self-isolation, and obviously for a lot of
mm-hmm.
people that are having
Yeah,
that's a really hard thing to have to deal with. Everyone has their plans of what they
yeah,
wanted to be doing for their birthday, but you wrote a
yeah,
song, right, that was
yeah.
to do with that. So yeah, maybe you could talk about that as well.
Yeah, that song was really funny because that morning I had just been I have chronic back pain and I don't like using medication and stuff, so I use a lot of herbal remedies,
Love that.
such as marijuana. And I don't know if we can mention it, but I smoked a little bit. It's my birthday, I can do what I want. And I had my feet, and all of a sudden I was like, I can wait and all that I need to get. It just came to my mind, like, right there. And it was a difficult thing to, like, I felt it very cathartic to write that song because it's happy still. It's like, it's still like it's okay that I'm having my birthday alone. And it gave me kind of like, it filled me up with a little bit that I feel like without it would have been like sitting in this depressive state of like, what could have been happening? Because like my birthday was on a Tuesday, and because of Mondays, as we know, the big music night in Toronto, my birthday would have started like half a day earlier. Like, it would have been the most fun thing ever. But instead, I was just hanging by myself and trying to make the most of it. And it is what it is. But like, I hope that if someone else had their birthday on isolation, it sucks, that they can like have a little dance to the birthday song in the morning. So yeah.
I also love, because I also had my birthday this year by myself, but that was because I was really, really ill, and it was my first birthday. I normally tried to like spend it with my family, and it was my first birthday. Obviously, like, I didn't move to Toronto too long ago, so it was my first birthday in Toronto, in a new city. And my initial reaction was like, I'm such a victim in this situation. Like, I don't want to be by myself, like on my birthday, woe is me. But then actually, I kind of like meditated on those emotions and reconnected to like, I'm just as lovable whether I'm surrounded by people on my birthday or whether I'm by myself on my birthday. And I think that's something that, like, I mean, it's easier said than done, but it's kind of like a nice way of reconnecting back to that self-love within you. If you can spend something like your birthday by yourself and still be happy, like within your own company, then I think that's a huge thing to have achieved during this time.
Yeah. Well, that's representative for a lot more than just birthdays, but the basic happiness that we find in life, we have to realize that doesn't stem from our exterior influences. It's all the interior, because you can be surrounded by all this love and happiness and whatnot. And yes, of course, that makes it easier, but it's up to us to meditate on our own self-love so that when the room is quiet and we're all alone, we're still okay. And I think with isolation, like, there are many people who have been going to work every single day of their lives on a routine, and now that's completely taken out of it, and now they have to sit with themselves. Like, they can't disappear to the bar to go and drink and be surrounded by loud music and loud people, and they can't go to this event and that event. Like, they have to sit with themselves, and you can only play Candy Crush for so long, right? So I think that's like something that even on our birthdays, like especially on our birthdays, because it's like, this is the day people recognize me, and then you're going through the day like getting a million text messages, maybe, or like a couple like from family and friends, but like you just want to hug people, but you can't, so you have to kind of like hug yourself. So yeah, it's been really interesting. But
over this whole time, I think that's honestly, in terms of emotionally, the hardest thing for everybody is like, normally when you're going through any kind of like crisis or whatever, you're able to often distract yourself away from it through seeing other people, like seeing people in real life, and distracting yourself by going out, or even, as you said, like going to work and stuff like that. But to really just sit with those emotions, like that's a big, sometimes a big like demon to have to face. So
huge.
It's like a journey for us all. But then, the beautiful thing is that if you can come out of this having addressed those things that come up, then you'll come out of this whole thing as like more in touch with yourself, which would be such a beautiful achievement to have. And
I hope people do reconnect with themselves through this.
I hope so too.
Because I think it's the perfect time to reconnect. And I think a lot of people might have been sitting in denial for a long time. not feeling like they had to change their way like I was. And I was going to sleep at 4 a.m. and waking up at 2, and then just going through this cycle of just whatever happens, go with it. We're on a pause. I can do this. I can do whatever I want. But then as of a few days ago, like in the way of my mental and physical health, I finally listened to myself and my body. And it took that, not the took the bad in order to be like, okay, I need to focus in on the good. Like, it's okay to be unproductive for 2 weeks. Like, we have a pause in the universe, the first time ever that we're allowed to just do nothing. We're okay to do that, but it's also important to listen to yourself and turn over and try something new and discover something new about yourself
100%.
at some point.
I think,
and everyone finds it at different times.
yeah, because both of those mean listening to yourself, because whether listening to yourself is that you want to just have 2 weeks of not doing anything, and especially if you're feeling upset or whatever, to allow those emotions, and just, you don't have to be productive in like the typical sense of, creating an album or whatever it might be. Like, you can also be productive by like going inward and just allowing yourself to just listen to your own body with what it's telling you. And that's amazing that such a big thing like your sleep cycles came out of this for you, because sleep is so important. I mean, for our immune system
So
as well, so important, but especially our mental health, physical health, everything. It's so vital for us to kind of be on top of that. So that's great that that came out for you.
It's never been like, sleep has always been something that's really difficult for me ever since like high school. So it's like over 5-6 years ago. And now that I don't have any kind of routine, like, I did it because I didn't have anything in the morning to wake me up. And now I wake up for the silence. And it's been really interesting to wake up before, I mean, like 8:30 is not before the rest of the world. Like, if I was waking up at 6:30 maybe, but like 8:30 is still a silence that I have yet to be a part of for a very long time. And like, sitting in that silence, not looking at my phone until 12 o'clock, I'm not successful there yet. I'm still working on that. But it's like, if anyone has an emergency, they need to get to me, they'll get to me, because I could be sleeping. But I'm not, but no one has to know that. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to listen to my silence, and I'm going to go and be on my own and have a good sleep and not feel tired all day and make the most of things. Like, the things that have happened to me before noon are ridiculous. And I've been doing this for like 3 days. Like, every day I'm like, whoa, there's life before 12 o'clock. What? Yeah, it's very strange. Yeah. From someone who's like, I'm crazy. So that's what I've discovered about myself so far. Day 3.
It's a bit crazy. It's great to be a bit crazy.
Yeah.
But
you have to be a little bit crazy and make fun of yourself for it.
Exactly, 100%. But you were just talking as well about how like you're working on not checking your phone before like a certain time and stuff. And I noticed that you'd put up on Instagram that you were going to stop using social media for a little bit. So that's something I've always really, really wanted to do. And actually, I literally have no excuse not to do it now. So you've kind of reminded me that I really need to like get on that. But so what kind of came out of that experience for you?
I didn't want to come back on.
Wow.
Like, it was weird. So I've been really intense on my Instagram since high school. So it's 5 years, 6 years. And like, if you scroll down, you can see the evolution of me. And like, it's been a branch of myself for so long, and I've enjoyed it. And like, it's not so much a job for me. Like, I don't do the whole influencer thing, which is not wrong to do, but like, it's not a part of me. And so I didn't have any like business responsibilities per se that I had to keep up with. So I kind of just like deleted it off of my phone and checked in once in a while just to make sure that I wasn't getting like some crazy message. I don't know. And it was really relieving. And at first it's weird, but it was just like I was aimlessly scrolling for hours in like an uncomfortable position that would just make my back hurt more. And it didn't make sense for me to be doing this anymore. Like, Instagram can be used as a business thing, and I do use it for that, but the majority of the time I wasn't. And I needed to just be honest with myself and say, like, I could be reading, I could be doing something different, I could be sitting staring at a wall, just letting my thoughts run.
Yeah.
But right now, what am I learning? What am I getting out of this?
Yes.
My thumbs, like thinking about the physical
I know.
motion of
I feel like
scrolling through a
a
phone. Like, do your
yeah.
parents ever say, "What are you doing? Just twiddling your thumbs?" Like before phones were a thing, like the touchscreen phones were a thing. My parents would be like, "Stop twiddling your thumbs and go do something with yourself." And now we're literally twiddling our thumbs.
Yeah.
And thinking about that and just like, what am I doing with, I'm not enriching myself in any way. I'm not learning anything, you know? And I was thinking just yesterday how there are so many celebrities and people of high profile who are stepping on, who have stepped off of social media too.
Yeah.
I don't know who those people are. I don't know what high celebrity but they have, and people don't notice because there's other content to consume.
Yeah.
And so for us, like, I'm not a high profile celebrity, but like for me, who has like some kind of social media platform in some way, to step off, who, no one's going to miss me. It's like, if you don't go to a party, people are still going to have fun, but it's like, I need to do what's good for me.
Yes.
And I'll come back when I'm ready to come back. I don't owe this to anybody.
Yeah.
I owe it to myself to
Yeah.
take that time. And that was like something that was really nice. And I did it for about 5 days, and I would do it more, but my parents are actually the ones who got on my case about it.
Oh wow.
Weirdly
What
enough.
to get back
Yeah,
onto it?
yeah,
Oh
because they
wow.
had they had seen Lock and Key posted a video and I was in it, and there was like 95,000 views or something, and I hadn't commented on it, and everyone else from the show had. And that's probably why they have like hundreds of thousand followers. And I'm like, but like, I just don't care.
Good one.
Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I would rather have like an audience grow from organic growth than me like spending all of my time sitting there and commenting emojis and things on people's photos, and you know, stressing myself out and tiring myself out trying to create something that's like, give me numbers. Like, I don't, like,
Exactly.
I'd rather just organically have it, like, people hear about what I'm doing or whatever, and do things for me. So like that break for 5 days was like a really important thing that I think more people should do. That
100%.
doesn't mean getting rid of it forever, but just for a little bit, you know, here and there, like maybe once a month, like 3 days off of it.
Just
It's
even
good.
just to realize that you can do without it as well, because it literally can become a bit of an addiction. And like, in terms of not
It
even just
is.
aimlessly scrolling, but also, you know, I think it's great that like you can kind of like take it or leave it, because if you like, yeah, for instance, with things like on the Lock and Key video and everything like that, like I'm sure there's loads of people that are telling you how like amazing you are, but there's also, even if it's not now, there might be some people that are one person down the line that says, I don't like the top that Hallie is wearing in the show or whatever.
Yeah.
And like, if you allow that to become your world, which like, unfortunately, because people have become so immersed into social media that they do think it's like completely real life. And then any one comment could just devastate you on such a deep level. So it's good that you can kind of like separate yourself from it and realize, you know, it's, you know, you can get some definitely beneficial things from being part of social media, but also don't make it like your whole world and like you get all your validation from it, because that's when it will really like mess with your mental health, especially as you said, like once you know, you've got quite a big following, and the more you grow your following, the more like it can become an addiction, like how many likes you're getting and everything like that. So yeah, it's good that you've got that relationship with it, I think.
Well, it's kind of messed up because I've had this little addiction to it since I started. Like, I remember when I started doing the whole Instagram modeling thing, I was around 17 years old. And that's when I was like really getting into, like, I had been modeling since I was 12, but then like I wasn't tall enough to go and professionally become a model. So I started doing this Instagram modeling before I got into acting. And I remember wanting to reach 5,000 followers so badly. and like pushing and like commenting and like doing this and doing that. And then I reached 5,000 and then I said 10,000 and then I just blah, 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 and then 15,000 and now I'm at 35. And you know what I caught myself doing yesterday? 50,000. Like, what? I'm like, chill. And you'll hear this from so many different people, especially people in public eye, celebrities, and people with like money in the bank, of like, you know, you want your $100,000 and then you want your $200,000 and you want your million, and you're never satisfied.
Yeah.
And that's why satisfaction of a good life shouldn't come from exterior places like we just talked about. It has to come from the inside of being like, I'm satisfied with the content I'm putting out there, and I'm satisfied with the engagement that I'm getting and the community that I'm creating. Doesn't matter how many likes or followers you get off of that. It's about being satisfied with yourself. That's the base of everything. And I needed to step away from that because I was like, I need to find that satisfaction in myself, my day-to-day, without the validation from other people saying it's okay what you're doing or whatever it is. And it's easy to get sucked into, but you can't. You just gotta say, I'm okay where I am. I'm gonna produce the content I want to produce. I'm not gonna kill myself over it. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't like it, don't be here. Like, it's also not tailoring myself to what I think people will like. You know, like for a long time, I knew that if I kept on doing, like the last photo I post just got 6,000, the most I've ever gotten on a photo. And of course, I'm in lingerie. Like, it's a shoot from 2 years, like a year ago or something, for a lingerie company. Like, that's the only time I do lingerie or swimwear, is for an actual company. And I love those photos and I really like them. So I posted it and it got so much content, like, or engagement. And then I know that if I post more pictures of my body, my numbers would go up, because that's just how Instagram works. But I don't want followers who are following me because of my body. I want followers. I want an audience. Let's correct that word right there. I want an audience because I'm a performer and a creator. I want an audience who's going to follow me for the content I create. That's me, and not just like a, look at my body, like, watch me, like, screw that.
I love that.
It's not
That's
authentic.
so important. Yeah, I mean, I have the same, because I've just started, like, as you know, I'm like quite a spiritual person and stuff, but I've just started kind of putting more stuff up that really means something to me, like even if it's just like a quote or something like that. And obviously me creating these videos, like I just want to start like doing stuff that really like connects to my soul, rather than just like my exterior or whatever. But yeah, in terms of likes, and this is why for such a long time I actually put off putting content up, like what I'm doing more at the moment, like about spiritual stuff, because I saw the difference in the likes, and it was drastically different, as you said, into the thousands if it's like a body photo. But if it's like a quote that really means something to me, it can get less than 100 likes. And then it just got to the point where I was like, I need to just separate myself from that, because I need to be true to myself on these platforms, and as you said, not be doing stuff just because of what I think other people want me to be like or whatever, because then really those likes that you're getting can feel quite empty as well. And actually that can then spur on even more of a lack of self-love, because if you're getting the likes just based on like a booty pic or whatever, and nothing wrong with booty pics, but if you're getting your validation from that, then that's when it can really actually affect your self-love, because you feel like, well, people aren't loving me for my true self. So I feel like, social media can be a journey of self-love as well, if you allow it to be, and, separate yourself from that a bit. But I also talking about, we were talking about like the distractions away from like other things and stuff, and using social media for that. And I feel like, this is a time really when people are having to reconnect to themselves on that kind of like deeper level and stuff. And so I think, you know, separating yourself from social media would be a wonderful way to really do that and reconnect. And, you know, you've used your time as well away from social media to be creating stuff. And I really do feel like being creative as well connects you on that deeper level to yourself, which might sound a bit like weird and hippie to some people that aren't creative, but I really do feel like we're born innately as creative people. You know, you look at children and they're so creative, their imaginations are like so incredible. And I think like as time goes on, you know, with pressures from society and stuff, we maybe disconnect from that stuff quite a lot. So I think, you know, use this time if you can to be creative and whatever. So whether that's, you know, music for you or acting, or even if it's just like cooking, making some amazing recipes, or you know, just reading and stuff like that, I just think it can really just connect you to yourself on a much deeper level. So
I was having a really interesting conversation with a fellow Toronto musician, Nick Ferraro, who was writing a bit of a piece about this. He's a lead singer in a band, Busty and the Bass, and he and I were discussing this piece that it's interesting during a pandemic that a lot of people are having a hard time creating, and a lot of people who aren't creators naturally are having a hard time picking up something like embroidery or acrylic paints or sewing or whatnot, something like that. Because from a young age, I mean, when we're kids, we create without any idea of monetization, of business making. We create without this need to show the world. And then, you know, we pluck the talented ones and say, hey, you could be an actor, you could be a painter, you could be a musician. And then all the ones who were just doing it because it was fun, not because they were good at it, they get discouraged. And then they go and they maybe go into academics or whatever it is. And then their creative side is just like in the background, caged and locked away because they were told you're not good enough to monetize and make money from this. And so a lot of people, we were discussing that we were discussing how in this pandemic, people are hesitant to like create freely, or they don't know how to because they've never been given the opportunity, or they haven't since they were young. And they feel like when they create a painting or an embroidery piece, I keep on going back to those because they take a lot of time. When they create those things, they instantly think, oh, should I be making an Etsy account, or should I be selling these, or should I be, you know, sewing these patches and making, you know, an online shop or something? It's just like, why don't you just create it for yourself? Just do it for yourself. Like nobody else. But it's so ingrained in our brain to show, because everything we do in life is shown, whether it be on social media or on a platform. And like, I made these earrings for a friend's mom's birthday with shells. Thank you. And I debated in my head the whole day posting about them, because like, as you know, I'm a very creative person. Just naturally, it comes like breathing. Like, I just give me a project and I'll try it out, and it might work really well, it might not, but I'm gonna just try it. And I had posted about the wall painting I was doing a few days ago, and I'm just like, should I post about earrings? Like, this is making me seem like I'm way too productive, and like, what's going on here? And I did, but the whole time it was up, I was like, I can create without showing. I can create without posting about it. But for some reason, there's this need for like someone to message me being like, I love those, in order to validate that I did a good job. But then I was like, no, I know I did a good job. I feel good about my job. I look at these and I like how they turned out. And it went from being like this validation to just being like, well, if anyone wants me to make a pair of shell earrings, I can do it. But yeah, I think
as well.
Pardon?
It's inspiration as well for others. I think that for me, that's what I kind of took from it, is like, you know, the idea that you can make earrings with shells, like that's something that I've never even thought of before. So you just planted a seed of inspiration.
I didn't either.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't view it as like, yeah, and I know it wasn't coming from a place of like, look at how
No,
amazing
not at
I am.
all.
Like, I really saw it as, whether you realized it or not, I really saw it as you sharing what you're creating to give inspiration. So whether that is that
Mhm.
someone wants to make earrings or whatever, or whether that's
Mhm.
just the insight ideas in people of like, what creative things can
Yeah.
we do?
Yeah, exactly. And like not feel like they have to monetize off of that. Like I know in my head at one point I was like, oh, I could make a business out of it. But I'm like, I enjoyed doing this. It doesn't mean like I enjoyed this for the time that I did it. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed it for the time I was focused in and the feeling of, creating something with my hands. And then it's done, I can put it away. And
Yeah.
I don't need to sell it, I
Yeah.
did it for a friend. And then, I can go off and I can paint a little thing and I can just do it for that time. And it doesn't need to have some kind of end result
Mm.
that, but it always does. Like all these creating moments that I have, and I hope as artists that we have, they do lead to an end result of something that we're not even aware of at first. But it's the result that is evident of gratification from other people that we want, because we don't listen to ourselves enough to
Mm.
find that result of feeling satisfied by taking that time to create something.
Yeah.
And it's like when we're creating, we really need to get back to that childhood root of creating for the hell of it and because it's fun,
Yeah.
not because we're going to sell it or people are going to comment on
Yeah.
it. Just create it and then burn it or something. I don't care. Just do it. That's the hardest thing, burning your work. Have you ever tried? I've never successfully done that yet. Do you know how many times I've thought about it, being like, it would be cool to paint something really nice and then burn it? Like, it's kind of like
Kind of
it
deep though.
it
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but to take something that you've put a lot of time and effort into and
Yeah.
love, and then just
That's
letting it go,
deep.
like not enough.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh God, now I'm gonna. Oh darn, now I'm gonna have to do that.
Yeah, we're all gonna be watching your Instagram now. Like, where's that bad piece of art you promised us?
Maybe I should just paint a picture of my ex.
Yeah. Yeah,
No, I can't
that's
bring
what,
myself to do that. I'm not. I totally believe in voodoo in some ways,
yeah.
where I'm like, I don't want to bestow
Yourself.
something as dark. Yeah, yeah.
But I think also in terms of like getting money out of things, I think that's maybe something that's coming to the surface now as well, as how much attachment we will
Mhm.
put to stuff like money. And so like, yeah, that's why people don't create just for the sake of creating. Well, a lot of people don't, because they think that their validation just comes from how much money they're making. And I think
Time
it's
is
such a
money.
beautiful time. Yeah, but I think like this is,
Mhm.
really in life, I think we're all realizing at the moment the things that are really important to us in life. And so things like friends and family, and for me, I really do believe like creating and our health, of course, and stuff like that. Like those are the stuff that's really important. Money, like I think we're realizing how it's not, I don't know, we're just putting way too much importance on it. And if you try and
Mhm.
base your whole happiness around it, I think now is a perfect time to show money comes and goes. And
Mhm.
we can't put so much of our self-worth on something that could potentially go just like that.
Yeah.
So,
God, it's taken humankind long enough to realize that.
mm,
And we won't. Like, here's the thing, we can talk about it, about money being like realizing that money isn't as important as we make it out to be, but money always will be. I mean, if you look at what's happening in political world, which we won't get into,
yeah,
but it's just like, okay, we'll jeopardize lives for the economy. And I'm like, um, but it's money will always run the world in one way or another because it gets something of what we want. Um, but it's about focusing on who's in the house with you right now, which is some people it's just yourself, some people it's family, some people it's spouses, sometimes just the man in the mirror. But it's like we can't buy our happiness right now.
yes,
You never really can, but I think getting back to that core of just like being okay without spending money. Because a lot of people who are like shopaholics and stuff like that, I'm sure they're going off on Amazon, but
Yeah.
it's like getting back to that
But again,
of
that's
just like being okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've found that one of the most healing things for me, which is completely free, and obviously, I keep my distance with it and stuff, but I've been going out into, like the Evergreen Brickworks area to do some hiking and
Mm,
stuff like that, and just like grounding myself in nature. And I just have so much love for nature, even more so than ever before, because I felt like
mhm,
it has been so healing for me in terms of my mental health during this time and stuff. And I hope that what comes out of this whole thing is that a lot of people have more respect for Mother Nature as well. And
mhm.
I noticed on Instagram as well that you and Patrice, who's also in your show, you've partnered up with his movement called One Movement. So maybe you could speak a little bit about that, because that's kind of in that theme.
Mhm. So I've always personally been really active in reducing my eco footprint. I remember them talking to us about it in elementary school, and I've always kind of kept it in the back of my head. I'm predominantly plant-based, so I don't eat any meat products. I don't use plastic water bottles. I don't use plastic at the grocery store. Like just small little things that if we all did them, they make a change. And I remember when we were filming season 1 of Lock and Key, Patrice was working on the One Movement. And he didn't have a name for it at that point. It was just a very new idea, I believe, from what I understand. And just a week ago, he called me and he was like, hey, I've created this company called the One Movement. It's a non-for-profit that goes and takes out plastic from the ocean and repurposes it. So all the people who pick up the plastic, who are predominantly a lot of people who don't have homes, they've created a way of making homes out of the plastics. There are certain plastics that are being taken out of the ocean. So I'm just paraphrasing because like I'm still very new to his to the One Movement, but I, of course, wanted to jump on it because I remember being on set with him and he had long discussions with the actors representative about reducing waste on film sets, which is huge. Like the waste on film sets is disgusting. Like it's just, there's so much of it. And so he's taken a lot of steps towards that. Genevieve Kang, who plays Jackie in the show, my character's best friend, she's basically zero waste. She's very on top of that. She's also a naturopath or something of that kind, a nutritionist. She's holistic medicine, she like holistic nutrition and whatnot. So she's very like, as a cast together working towards making awareness of this is like our main thing, like of course promote the show in our jobs, but in our passions of really wanting to see a better world in the future, like we can only do it now. Like it has to happen now. It can't happen later. And I think this pandemic is really giving the opportunity to show the greener side of things, with what's happening in the canals in Venice and around the world when it comes to the smog and how bright it is. And I just, like I mentioned earlier, the silence. And I mean, that's not in the way of pollution, but it's noise pollution. But the silence represents the lack of cars on the road. And I think overall, the whole world is kind of thriving. The ecosystems are thriving because of this slowdown. And I'm hoping that because we've discovered that a lot of jobs can be worked from home, that less people are going to be commuting in traffic and whatnot, and that people are going to respect the environment much more and themselves at the end of this. And we can only hope that we break that. It takes 26 days to break a habit, and we can only hope that the months that this is happening for really ingrain a deeper respect in the basics of what it is to be human and what it is to live on a world that is crumbling the way that we were doing things before. And what a better time to implement climate change restrictions and laws and whatever it is than right now, when we literally have this opportunity to like try to keep the air clean, rather than just going back and then trying to take it away. Like, let's try to keep it that way. Let's try to keep the ocean, the world a nicer, cleaner place. And that starts with us at home, just like really being aware of what we do every single day. And I mean, geez, we have enough time to read up about it.
Yeah.
So, like, go and read about it, because it's like, it's our planet, and it is directly affecting us, even if not everyone feels it. It's affecting us, and it will in the next 5 years in ways that we can't even imagine. Like, we couldn't imagine this pandemic, right? Like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, you told me that this was happening, I'd be like, you're crazy. But like, maybe not. I'd probably be like, okay, tell me more. I could totally believe this happening. But really, like in my lifetime? Yeah. But we couldn't imagine this happening to this scale. And I mean, obviously it shows in the lack of preparation that the government's had. But we can't even imagine what is going to happen if we keep on going down the direction that humans are going with climate change and the way that we're treating the world. And like, people are like, oh, like, climate change. Take the word climate change out of it. Ecological disaster, because of our supply and demand, that's just off the charts crazy. And the lack of sustainable ways of working the world, that needs to change. We all know it. Start now, because if we couldn't predict this pandemic, we can't predict what the hell is going to happen when the climate says, or Mother Nature is like, I gave you guys a chance. Sorry, y'all dead.
Listening. So it's now more than ever. I just hope we use this time of stillness to actually like listen to Mother Nature and just what she's saying. And just, as you said, this isn't just about the environment. This is about us as individuals as well. This is about the animals. Like, we're all so much more connected than we realize. And us screwing over Mother Nature is also screwing over ourselves. And it's, the sooner we realize that, the better for everybody.
Oh yeah. Because like, smog and pollution cannot be good for your brain. No, of course.
Or lungs. And this whole
or your lungs. I mean, everything that I think we've just become comfortable with because it seemed too daunting to get rid of is something that we need to just take the time. And what's a better time than now? Go to Amazon and click the plastic-free option for delivering your stuff. Like, I need to do that. I keep on telling you I'm going to do that right when we're done talking.
When we get off this call, let's both do that. And anyone that's watching this, when you get off this video, go do that.
Amazon. Yeah. So much waste. It blows my mind anytime I open a package and it's just like individually wrapped things.
And the tiny thing inside this like massive wrapping, which is just so
I don't understand. I don't. I'm like, this is stupid. So.
I feel you. Well,
all
thank
things
you so much. I think this has been like hopefully a really helpful conversation for other people that have watched this, and it's
been a helpful conversation for me too.
What? Sorry.
I've appreciated it. It's been a helpful conversation for me too. Every time that you do something for other people, you got to do it for yourself too.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah. Well, I love you so much, and
I love you too.
See you soon.
I miss you, beauty, and talk soon.